Hey there, welcome back. I'm super excited to share this special podcast episode where I had the opportunity to join the Protector Culture podcast and dive into some critical topics that impact every single family: situational awareness, honest communication, and building a strong family foundation. The host of this podcast is Jimmy Graham. He is a former FBI protective officer and former Navy SEAL. So, Jimmy and I talk about everything from teaching kids practical safety skills to strengthening marriage through intentional connection. I even shared a personal story about my son and the profound impact these lessons have had on our family. So, I hope you enjoy the conversation and find several things to take away from it. And if you like it, be sure to share it with everyone in your circle.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I'm your host, Jimmy Graham, and I am here with a special guest. One, I got BK as usual. What's up, BK?
What do you know?
You good?
I'm great.
Awesome, and I got a good friend of mine, Jordan Langdon. How are you?
Great, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on
I'm
the show.
so glad you're here. Real quick, I'll let you talk about how you first learned about Able Shepherd, but I was on your podcast, Families of Character, and we had such a great time because it was just a little bit of a shift. Obviously, we're a family-based organization, but you really appreciated what you learned. You want to talk more about families and what we could do. I highly recommend that people go and check it out.
Yes.
But that was like, meeting you and Josh. And then I feel like I was kind of adopted by the family.
You were.
So do you want to kick off and talk about like how you heard about us and what that experience has been like from then on forward?
Absolutely. So that was, I think, like 4 years ago that we got into the Family Emergency Readiness Program. That was kind of our entry point with Able Shepherd. And I guess it was around 2020 then when we took that course. And at the time, we were thinking like, we need to be ready and make sure our kids are ready for anything that happens in this crazy country right now.
Yeah.
And so we went through that program, and instantly we knew just by the leadership of the instructor and just the care that we were given as we went through the program and just the step-by-step kind of process of bringing us through so that we felt safe, but we were also willing to do hard things in order to get our family ready for an emergency. So I was talking to my kids on the way before I came over here, and I said, you guys remember the Family Emergency Readiness Program? And Lincoln's like, he's 12 now, and he's like, oh my gosh, we failed that so hard. And I said, what do you mean you failed? He's like, remember, like we're out in the parking lot and the stranger comes up and he shows us his phone and he's trying to get us to look at the picture of his dog so that he can steal us. He's like, we looked at the picture. But you know what I said? I said, but Lincoln, it's interesting because we were watching you from afar. And yes, you looked at the phone, but your body language changed. They were both sitting on the curb and the stranger comes up. I remember it clear as day. And we're going, no, don't do the thing. And Lincoln is older than his sister, and he got up and he stood in between the stranger and his sister.
Yeah, because they don't know that's my guy.
Yeah.
They're just, I'm like, hey, who's running that one? Was that Eric?
Eric.
Was that, okay,
yes.
Yeah, so Eric's gonna appreciate hearing that, and I'm always glad to hear that, but kudos to Eric. We stage them, they show up and they never come on, so you never see them. And then where there's a text thing going on and all that, and then typically the instructor goes out and is like, hey, we're gonna do that thing that we talked about. Man, I forgot my phone, let me go back in. So you go back in, they don't know their parents are watching through the blinds, and they just know this dude just bailed on them. And then here comes this other guy yelling for a dog, and now they're in it.
Yeah.
Right? And we just talked about it.
That's right.
And even when I did it with my kids, I was like, surely, we've talked about this enough, surely they're gonna do. And the girls, impressive. My son, man needs help, let's go help him. Like he's out, like let's go fan this man's dog right now. And my daughter's like, whoa, like back up you. Christian, get over here, we don't know this guy, all that stuff. And it has happened, it wasn't a threat, it wasn't an emergency, it wasn't a bad guy.
Yeah.
We're at the park, this guy comes up with a puppy, real puppy, we're watching the kids, we're talking to the adults and all that. I look over and I see this, and I see my daughter's kind of waving over here like, Dad, come here. And I'm like, what's going on? What's this dude doing? So I walk over there, and the guy's like, hey, do you want to, he's got some brothers and sisters. I mean, like we do. Do you want to go see him? And it's like, let me check with my dad, because my dad likes puppies. Let me check with my dad.
Yeah.
And I go, sure enough, this guy's got puppies. And we go over in there and we play with the puppies. Yeah. But they knew, like, this is a line that we don't cross. I'm not going towards your vehicle. And then we just, whatever. It was an innocent thing, an older guy and all that stuff. But I thought for sure, my kid, I do this, and we talked plenty. Yep. I'm not saying talked, I'm saying teach.
Right.
So if they repeat it and they're successful, then you were a successful teacher.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And off goes my boy, like, let's go help them. And I'm like, oh no. So then we have the conversation, and we've done it since and all that stuff. So
yes. Well, that was a wonderful kind of intro for our family into Able Shepherd. And I remember actually going through the like restaurant scenario. Somebody comes in, you guys are kind of waiting for a table or whatever. What do you do? How do you get out? Bad guys coming on me, go through the whole course. And this happens to me in like an emergency situation. But I come out of the drill, and I think it was, it had to have been, what's his name? The instructor.
Eric?
Yeah, Eric. He goes, Jordan, that was awesome. And I'm like, what was awesome? I hit my head on the wall, and then I don't even remember anything. And he's like, oh, you hit your head on the wall, and then you went nuts on that guy. Like you beat him to the ground. We were watching from up there, and I'm like, oh, I have an instinct where I can help myself. But then it kind of startled me, because I thought I didn't remember doing what you said I just did. And I don't like the idea that I'm waiting on my own instincts to protect me. So I need to do something more. Mm-hmm. So Josh and I, after that class, were like, what other kind of classes do they have over at this Able Shepherd place?
Let's look into this further.
Yeah. So then he and I took the Protect Our People course, and loved it. I was like, oh, wait, this is awesome. There are other women in the class too. And it was a real bonding experience for us, because Josh has been familiar with guns, his whole life, and hunted and that sort of thing. But it had been a while since we had done like handgun stuff. And so to do it together as a couple was just like, hey, this is cool. We're taking a little risk. We're doing it together, and loved it. So then I was like, what else can we do? And so then we signed up for the Able Shepherd program. So
you know what else is cool is I get texts on my phone of date night when you guys are out shooting and doing the thing, and then you go on a date. And I'm like, this is so cool.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's what we did. We ordered these date night targets after that, and then we'd go to the gun club, and like that was our date night. And then we'd go out afterwards and like take a selfie and text it to Jimmy Graham and be like, man, we're practicing.
That's so awesome.
And enjoying each other.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
Yeah, then we started going through the Able Shepherd program. I think we're to 2B, so we're getting into entries.
Yep.
And that's exciting. It gets harder and harder, and the risks are a little higher, and so
the capabilities ticking up, and you're starting to feel it. They're more confident, hopefully. Yeah,
confidence and the courage, and then that's when I was like, hey, I think we need to get some of the people from the Families of Character community in here to see what you have going on. And so I loved it so much. I hosted a donor appreciation event. Remember that?
It was fantastic.
It was so good.
It was fantastic.
So good. They still talk about it to this day.
Good.
Yeah. They're like, are you thinking about doing another one of those? I'm like, if you're asking, I'm a
then we're doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is, it's people coming in that some have shot, some haven't shot. Some are almost like a professional level, and other people, their spouses. And I don't train Rachel. There's a kind of a rule here. I don't train my wife, because now as I'm trying to get her to front sight focus, it's really about, oh, Mr. doesn't take out the trash is trying to tell me how to shoot. And I'm like, Elvis has left the building. Parker, you're up, right?
Yeah.
And if his wife comes in, I'm in there, because let's just make it about shooting, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a lot more efficient, a lot more effective to tackle it that way. And that's great. And you said that has been one of the things, and that's why you're here tonight. I want to talk about what you've been called to do. And it has helped, because, you and Josh had a situation. That night you shared some things that I didn't know about you.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. We said this as we were getting ready and talking. Man, we don't have time to mess with this silliness that the world will kind of throw out there of like, hey, it's a Hollywood marriage. It's supposed to look like this. I'm like, well, I'd have never known that.
Right.
Like, I've never seen that.
For
Am I broken? Like, who's doing this? Right. And the more men's groups and women's groups that I look into, I'm like, this isn't a real thing. And if it is, it's for a moment. And then the real stuff hits and I wasn't ready.
Yes.
I feel gypped that I didn't have the Hollywood affection, the thing that looks like this and all that. Do you mind sharing some of that?
Oh, absolutely. This is just like my story out there for the world. I mean, that was a super bonding experience and still, is for us to do something where we're growing in skills together. But 6 years ago, first of all, we have 3 kids. So right now they're 18, 12, and 10. And 6 years ago, Josh and I were both working jobs and our kids were in school. And, by all measures of other people, people we went to church with, we were doing good, right? Like successful jobs, nice kids, showing up at church on Sundays. We're doing the thing, right? Well, I come home from work one night, and I remember this just as clear as day. It's about like 6:30 in the evening, the sun's setting, and I pull down the street to our home in our neighborhood. And I remember glancing and seeing the address on my house, and I hit the garage door button, and I was like, like this sense of dread came over me. And I was like, oh man, I gotta do round 2. Like I've been a mental health therapist for 20 years, so I was at my office seeing clients, probably 7 clients that day. And I was just exhausted and I was spent. And then it's like, you get that little extra wind and you're like, you know what, but this is my job. I'm a mom. I got to get in there and make dinner and clean up and do the thing. And so I just, grab my stuff and kind of take a deep breath. And I open the door to my garage and I'm like pushing past backpacks and shoes and coats. And then the anxiety level was rising. I'm like, ugh. And I come around the corner and I glance into the kitchen and my kid's just like, I'm going, hello, has anyone, the dishes from breakfast are still there. Have you guys even started your homework? Whatever. Boom. They just scatter like cockroaches because I'm nagging and yelling the first thing I do when I come in the door. It's like, you need to do this and you need to do this and what's going on? And Josh was in our home office at that time. And I remember him kind of coming out and looking back, hindsight's 20/20.
Sure.
I was like, that's what that look was always about. But it was kind of like, she's home, like, oh no. And so I go, okay, again, I have to get myself together, get dinner on the table, we eat dinner, clean up. And I take my daughter upstairs to give her a bath. And put her in the bathtub, and I'm washing her hair, and like 4-year-olds, her hair's like floating around like a mermaid in the bathtub, and she's just having a good old time. She's got her eyes closed, and then all of a sudden I hear her go, Mom, I don't think Dad wants to live here anymore. And I was like, what? She's 4. And then she goes, very clearly, she said, well, I don't think he wants to move, but he doesn't want to live here. And then she opened her eyes, and it was like, oh, by the way, what's for breakfast tomorrow? And I was like, I'm sorry,
what just
what?
happened, yeah.
Right. And being a therapist, I'm like, instantly, this means something. Because as a 4-year-old, you don't just say these things unless you have recognized a true division in our relationship. And so I dry her off, get her in her PJs, we say prayers as a family, put her to bed. And then I tiptoe into the bedroom and I'm like, hey, Josh, are you thinking about leaving? And he just looks at me. He was like, why do you ask? Again, this is a bad sign.
Not no. Yeah, it's like I was
You don't answer a question with a question. This is a bad thing. It's a stalling technique, And I was like, well, because this is what Annie just said. And he just kind of nodded his head and he put his hand on his chin and he goes, it's like staring at the ceiling. And I could tell he was choosing his words really carefully. And he said, no, I'm not, I haven't thought about leaving. But he's like, you're really not fun to live with. And I was like, oh, man. And my instant response was, you're so right. I don't even like me. And I just felt it. I was like, at least there's validation here. Like, you're feeling what I am living, you know? I'm like, oh. So that night, again, that was kind of like, you know, he said the truth. Mm-hmm. I accepted it. And then we kind of like moved on with the night. And I joke with him all the time, and you can joke with him about this too.
I'm going to tread lightly with joking about this one.
That night he was like, and I'm just laying in the bed looking at the ceiling like, what has happened to me? And I swear I got this download of like, it was like a Polaroid picture, you know, flash of just like tearful drop-offs at school in the morning with my kids, you know, me prioritizing them and the dog over Josh, you know, him pursuing me for intimacy and me being like, me? Like, are you looking at me because I'm tired? I'm doing everything for everyone in the family. I know you're not looking at me. Like, well, this is not happening, you know? And he's just like, okay, great, you know, more rejection. And so I was just getting all these, you know, kind of replays of how it had been. And then I got this really clear vision of our family as a team. And so we're like out on a football field, and we all have the same colored jersey on, and like it says Langdon on the back. I'm like, okay, this is looking good. Okay, right, we're a team. We are a team. And then all of a sudden, the whistle blows and the ball snapped, and I grab the ball, and I'm like running towards the end zone, and I'm just bobbing and weaving and trying to get around people, and I get tired, and I'm like falling down close to the end zone, and I look back to like pitch the ball to Josh or my kids, and there's literally no one on the field. And so I look over to the side, and on the sideline, they're just standing there. They're like all suited up and ready to go, and it hits me. I've sidelined my entire family. Wow. These kids are old enough to do things on their own. I'm doing it all for them. Why? Because it's faster. It's, you know, I can do it better, more efficient. I don't have time to teach you how to do your laundry. I don't have time to teach you how to clean up the kitchen. But I'm going to bang around because I'm upset that I'm doing this, right? And then same thing with my husband. So we got to talking about this, and Josh goes, I said, you know, why do you never help? Like, we have company over and stuff, and like, I'm doing everything for everyone. And one time he just said, Jordan, I just want you to think about something. He said, I offer to help you all the time. I said, oh yeah, give me some examples, you know. I'm ready, I'm listening, you know. And he listed off 4 very specific things. And I said, well, how did I respond to you? Again, kind of that blackout moment like I had in the emergency. I'm going, I don't remember. How did you respond to me? And he said, or how did I respond to you? And he said, every time you say, I've got it. No, I've got it. No, I can get it. I've got it. And I was like, that's right. That's right. That's what I've done. I just continue to just try to do everything myself, which is totally the vice of pride, right? You think that, oh, I'm doing everything for everyone. Yay, me. You know, it's kind of that martyrdom kind of syndrome. But it just came clear to me. I thought, wow, like, the order of priorities and leadership in our family has gotten completely flipped on its head. Yeah. And I took a lot of responsibility for it because I just continued to take on things and not ask for help. And Josh is like, Jordan, I feel bad because I feel like I abdicated my authority and my leadership, and I kind of saw the train going down the tracks like you weren't doing well. But at the same time, I didn't want to like disrespect you and argue with you because you kept telling me you've got it, you know? And I'm like, yeah, what man's going to argue with their wife when they say they've got it? I mean, for multiple different reasons. You don't want to put yourself in that position where you're, you know, stirring that pot. So I tried all kinds of things, right? Like chore charts. Let's get the kids to do their chores. Well, that would work for like 2 weeks, and then we'd be like, who needs a reward? We can't even keep up with this, you know? And so that would kind of fall by the wayside. But we tried all the hacks that were just like, let's just quickly try to kind of put a Band-Aid on this. And then we just like stumbled across Families of Character, and this friend, the founder of Families of Character, Steve Markle, and he just kind of like took us under his wing. He was like, hey, I have an idea. It's like, why don't you just get together with your family, once a week and just start looking at how you spend your time? And so I'm like, well, how is this going to help, Okay, we'll do it. And so we did. We started having a family huddle because we do believe that our family is the most important team you'll ever be part of. So we started having this family huddle, and we would look at the calendar, and all of a sudden Josh is going, oh man, the kids are going here and here. You got a doctor's appointments for them. And so he was able to quickly see kind of what I was managing and all the project management kind of tasks I was dealing with every day. And instantly he's like, oh, I can do this. Hey, I can leave work early on a Thursday and take Annie to gymnastics. And then the kids started saying like, oh, how about we get Mrs. Honberger to, take me to wrestling, because I know you have to take Annie here and Dad has to take Parker here. And so all of a sudden this unity started developing in our family where it was like, oh, you brought us on the field. You think we're capable players. Like, this is awesome. And so we have done over, I don't know, since 2019, every week. So for 4 or 5 years, we have done a weekly huddle where we look at the calendar, sort it all out, kind of calm the calendar chaos, as I say, for just the week ahead. And then we decide on a common goal. How is Team Langdon going to win the week? What are we going to do to focus on, to grow in character, and just win the week? I know you like those sayings.
It's so awesome. So I've started doing this now, and it's still a work in progress because it's kind of like, it's a Sunday, it's after church, I'm hungry, or now we're doing it after. But it is, you learn a little bit, they're hungry, we should feed them first, and then we should do it, and then we should do this and all that stuff. And one of the quick takeaways, because I remember you talking about it, right? And I was like, why don't we do that? Like, that just makes sense in everything. And Christian jumps up and takes over the thing. And I'm like, at first I'm like, I'm the dad, I'm the leader, but I was like, hold on, my kid wants to read the Bible. Yeah. So then he reads a verse, and we do gratitude the way we do ours. We do gratitude. We go around, what are you thankful for? And everybody goes around the horn, and nobody skips out. And then we pick a Bible verse, and he just like, we just left church. He's like, today I learned this. And he just grabs the Bible and starts reading it. I'm like, I love it. This is stinking cool. And then we go around, and then he's like, okay, Dad, now bust out the calendar. I'm like, well, first we have to talk about this. And then it's bust out the calendar, and we're starting to experience that. So we're very new to it, but it's like, why haven't we been doing this?
Well, it's crazy because you never go weeks, months, quarters, years in your business without huddling up with your team.
Right.
But at home, there's something about our family where we don't see it as a team of people who are trying to move the ball down the field together, and we need a cohesive plan to do that. Yeah. And so the huddle is perfect for that because you're getting together consistently. I say it's the 3 C's. You're connecting consistently, which is huge because you have family dinners here and there together, right? Like all of us, because we're coming and going and we have so many activities. But when else do you have a consistent time that is just focused on the entire family? Yeah. Intentional time together. This matters down the road. Why? Because your kids are going to be teenagers, okay? And so their problems get much bigger. And as a therapist, I know if you don't have a foundation of safety built where you have already been spending intentional time together with them and having an open forum to talk about whatever comes up there. I mean, we've had our son, was kind of looking a little different one day in our meeting. And we just said, hey, buddy, what's going on? And he's like, nothing, I'm fine, nothing, I'm fine. Okay. So then we just waited for him. We all just kind of silently waited for him. And the silence is awkward. And so as a therapist, you can wait through that and then someone will finally speak. This was a technique we used all the time. Just wait for it. And all of a sudden he said, I just don't want to wrestle anymore. And we're like, no problem. Josh just immediately was like, tell me more, right? Tell me more. 3 great words to use with your kids. Tell me more. I just feel like I've been doing this because you were a wrestler and you wrestled in college and now you're the coach. Josh goes, I live my life, buddy. You don't have to do anything for me. You done wrestling? We're done. Like, it's all good. And he was just like, oh, all this weight came off. But it was because we had built this foundation of safety where he felt like, it might have taken him some time, but he was able to share something that was that personal to him, and we could support him in that. So at the beginning of these things, it's a little clunky, and you're like trying to get the feel for like Team Graham, like what's this gonna be like for us?
Yeah.
But it's so worth it to keep going. So, and then we end with a prayer, and then we put our hands in the middle and go 1, 2, 3, Team Langdon, and it's our kids' favorite part.
Oh,
because
that's legit.
think about like how crazy culture is and how kids feel like a little shaky about their identity.
Yeah.
And your name, your last name, like means something,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, the Graham family. I've heard you talk about
Graham
like,
family sayings. That's right. Yeah.
Yes. And so just to claim that at the end and just kind of wrap it with the bow, you say your prayer and just do this big, team rally cry. It's just like so unifying and bonding.
Yes.
And so since then, I mean, we've had a complete transformation in our marriage. So date night once a week. Sometimes those are dates at home, right? Because that's just what we have to do. But also having a quarterly like hotel date night, right? Locally. So we can like hang out, have early dinner, talk about the upcoming quarter. Like what kind of goals do we want to set as a family? What experiences do we want to have? And then this one was a total game changer. It's a 90-second activity that Josh does for me every day, okay? It's not what people might think, okay? 90 seconds, okay? But he prays with me every day before he leaves for work, okay? And people will say, I'll ask in our coaching, couples coaching, I'll say, so are you guys praying together? Guys, are you praying with your wife? Yeah, we pray as a family. I said, no. Do you pray with your wife? Yeah, we pray. How do you pray? Well, we'll just say a prayer together. Okay, well, that's good. That's a good start. That's awesome. What would happen if you, as the man and the husband, pursued your wife by seeking her out, finding her wherever she is? She might be sleeping, she might be getting ready for work, whatever. But before you leave the house every morning, find her, stand up with her, hold hands, close your eyes, and then say a 90-second prayer. And then just give each other a hug, kiss, say goodbye, and leave. And the guys are like, oh, that sounds weird, awkward. My relationship with God is like between,
Sure.
And it's awkward. So you're going to have your eyes closed and you're going to clunk through it. But the one thing Josh does is he listens to something that I've said, the day before, and he'll pull that into prayer. Lord, please help Jordan today as she navigates this conversation with this donor, or whatever it is. But it's very specific to something that he heard me talk about. This is like such a game changer. It's like the biggest deposit in the love bank. I'm not kidding.
So I don't know if you know this or not. So so Josh is awesome, right? Yeah. And he came out to the men's mission that we hosted and all that stuff. And he told us this.
Did he?
Right? And so now, as if I don't feel bad enough that I don't do that, he said it and I forgot it until you're saying it. So thank you for reminding me. But it was specifically about that. It's not a, I call them any given Sunday prayer,
right.
Any given Sunday message.
Yes.
It's specific.
Yes.
And it has something to do with her. Yes. And we've tried that, and it fades and all that because it feels like it's like now I pray, then you pray, and then you pray that. But now I really love the idea of I'm going to pray, like you said, as the leader of the family. I'm going to pray. Have a good day.
Yes.
And then just gone, and it was specific, meaning I am listening to you. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, I'd love you to speak into this, is because I think it's really common, you've seen more of this. I feel like some people on both sides, male and female, they're so consumed with their stuff, there's no room for your stuff.
Oh, right.
Right? And now there's no consideration. And I think as a society, this is, what it comes across is that you don't really like me that much or this or that. And I think the lie from the enemy is that it's intentional.
Right.
But really, I'm so consumed with my stuff.
Yes.
I really have never considered you.
Yes.
You're just here and like for the man, either way, you pay the bills and you do the thing. Well, you wash the dishes and do the thing or whatever. But it's like, man, that's like, what? Like, and as coming from a bunch of alphas, and in this case, males in the SEAL teams, I see this where guys, and I've been on this side of it, you deploy and you feel horrible that you're not with your family. Then you come home and you take the reins, and there's no way you're going to give your kids the reins because you got to prove to them that you're still the leader.
Oh,
right?
yes.
And then you do it nonstop because see, dad's got it. Then you deploy again, or you do a workup, and it's gone, and you come back and take the reins. The problem is that they turn 18 and they've never felt the reins. They've never known how to handle reins.
Yeah.
And the world eats them alive, right? Because they grow up naive because they've never been allowed to lead.
Yes.
Right? And that's,
yes.
I've seen that to where now maybe even these young men, wait, your dad's a SEAL, you're rah, rah, rah. So now you're trying to live up to a thing. You've never been allowed to lead, sometimes even effeminate, because to be honest, you were raised by mom and grandma.
Right.
The dude was over there
Yeah.
talking about breaking into my house. No, break into your house, it's the one to break into. There's no man there, right? And now they're this whole thing that when they see you not getting along with or anything that's wrong, they're of you. And they know they're of you. But I guess that's how you lead, and I'm of that. So I guess and it just seems to be this spiral of bleeding
generational cycle, yes.
And it's eating our society alive.
It is. It absolutely is. And yeah, you can know how to protect, kids, and what you're doing is so amazing. And we have to protect our relationships.
Yes.
Our people, because we are for each other. That's what I talk about in our couples coaching all the time. I say, okay, guys, so would think about your spouse. Would your spouse choose to be your friend if they weren't your spouse? And I would have said, absolutely not, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have chosen him.
Yeah.
Because there was so much division and resentment. And it's like, but you chose each other as friends years ago, 20 years ago for me. How long have you guys been married?
17.
17. You chose each other. That was a choice.
Yeah,
No one forced you to get married, right? Like in most cases. It was a free choice. And so we have to keep reminding ourselves that we are for each other. And if we're for each other, we have to parent as a united team. We have to elevate our marriage to a priority above our kids, which is another thing that gets totally disordered, right? Is like, yeah, you get deployed, she's doing stuff at home, right? Then you come back and maybe there's a switch of that or however that works. But then as women, we're like always thinking about the kids and what they need.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everything's been flipped on its head, and it's the struggle bus, man. It's real. Did
Josh share that song, that husband and wife again? Because that was really that was just on my heart. God gave me that, when I sent it to Rachel, and it really was. We became parents, which sounds like good. You're supposed no. We stopped being husband and wife.
Yes.
And we became fully 100% parents, and then there was just this other co-parent, other renter,
right?
Doing the stuff to be parents. And it's not good.
No.
It's just totally not good. We had a very, very honest conversation, and we were pretty honest with each other. We had a very honest conversation last weekend, which led to a beautiful Sunday. But it really was. It was like, oh man, just sometimes. And the most powerful thing that she can say to me, and hopefully it's taken the other way, is listen, we're going to be together forever. Let's just figure this part out. Because I'm not going anywhere. I don't have a foot out. I'm not looking. We're not saying the D whatever. I'm here, but we got to figure this out, right? So that's just so comforting on a world where everybody's doing this, is that we're here, even if it's tough. And she said something to the effect of, oh man, just at times I'm like, and we talk about very honestly, the devil's like saying maybe if you separated for a minute,
right, that
would.
Oh yeah.
And then I say, honestly, I'm like, part of me and we say this, Satan telling me that, part of me wants to throw a party. Like if you said that, I'm like, man, that sounds like a pretty good deal actually. Because because this is rough and you're not a lot of fun, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And she's like, what? I'm like, me too, right? That's just but because of that commitment we made, it's like integrity, a steadfast adherence to a strict moral or ethical code. Not all in, kinda. Steadfast means steadfast. Mm-hmm. And the code we choose is the Bible. And it's that integrity says that's not an option. That's why we need to figure this out. And then it was just a big breath, and then a sleep on it, and then, her saying, can I talk to you for a minute? And then we go and have a conversation that leads to an amazing Sunday. And then this stuff happens again, and now we're like, hey, we had a good thing there.
I know.
Let's hit that more.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Because we're not just meant to survive in our marriage.
Yes.
We're meant to thrive. And Satan wants to divide us.
Yes.
If he can divide the family, he has won. 100%, which is motivating for me because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, not today, Satan. Like that, you are not getting between my marriage, you know. But sometimes you really have to like renounce that out loud between you as a couple when you're like, whoa, this is not sounding like us, you know. And just take prayerful action against that because it's a real thing, and you know, everyone goes through this.
Yeah.
I have not met a couple that's like, we've never experienced that.
You guys fight?
Were the kids seem more important than us? No, we haven't been through that at all. It's like...
Yeah. If they're honest, right? Because now
Right.
there's this whole Facebook image of like, no, we're doing it. Like, man, I know you.
Yeah.
That's not the right deal. And there's so much power in those men's groups where you don't allow negative talk about this. But like, hey, we're crossing the line here.
I love that boundary.
And then you see a bunch of guys and going, oh, it's not just, there's guys that I relate exactly, like, whoa, brother, that hit me.
Yeah.
And now you air it out and they'll go, oh, it's not just us?
Yes.
No, I think it's, by the looks of this room, it's every single couple.
Yes.
You know, and then they get shared, you know, and there was something in his message that touched me, and now I'm going to go get after it.
Yes.
And that's a big deal.
The community is so important. So that's what we do at Families of Character is we coach couples in small groups. So for 20 years, I coached or counseled people, you know, on an individual basis. And the progress was just horribly slow, if not just stagnant.
Yeah.
Because two people come in for marriage counseling, they sit in your office for an hour, and then they come back in a week, and then they come back in another week. Well, then somebody's sick, and then you have all this space and time and stuff. And so the group is where it's at. And it's just like your community. When you do men's mission groups or you hang around after you have a gun class and like everybody's collaborating and talking about their experience, we were not meant to do this alone.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And it's, you know, I say, hey, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be fun. If I'm going to be a part of it. And I think breaking that mold of, I'll just pick on ministry for a second. I've had many guys telling me like, hey, ministry failed, man. I'm like, what do you mean? What were you doing? Well, I was doing this Wednesday and Sunday thing. I was like, oh, you mean somebody else's version of ministry failed you? Is that what God told you to do? Here's what God told me to do. That my ministry involves ARs and motorcycles and four-wheel drives in the Rocky Mountains. And they're like, oh, I'm back in. Like, hold on, that's an option? And I'm like, yeah, I asked, it's okay. And all of a sudden, men might not, if I call it counseling, might not want to sit around and talk, but they'll burn wood and they'll jump in a four-wheel drive and they'll do all that. And I'm like, wait a minute, and now guys are saying, hey, is there any space for me here? And like, yeah, get in here. We meet every other Friday. We meet on Tuesdays. We meet on whatever. And now they're showing up. I had a guy come to kind of critique and tear apart our group. And I'm like, hey, brother, if you're here to critique us, if you're here to work on you, you're welcome. If you're here to critique us while we're the ones doing it, why don't you stay home? Mm-hmm. And then he's like, what? And then all of a sudden he showed up. And then that night we went downtown and supported a thing in Denver that got got our hearts beating a little bit, right? Yeah. We knew there was going to be opposition. And he's like, well, who are you people? It's exactly what I've been looking for. And I'm like, we've been here the whole time. Yes. You know, so it's just that thing about marriage. I believe that if guys were more honest and sat around and didn't, you know, blow the smoke screens and all that stuff, it's like, hey, this is really going on with me.
Yes.
And now it's like, okay, not happy or going through that, but thanks for sharing it because I got work to do in my house.
Yes.
You know, and now all of a sudden a grass fire starts.
Yes,
and that's super
that
cool.
Accountability too. I mean, iron sharpens iron. It's like, oh, you're doing this, I'm going to try this. You know, I mean, you have one of your instructors has been through our coaching program.
Yes.
He gave me permission to share that, and he's like going, whoa, this is good. Like this is helping me prioritize my wife at home and get back into a place of leadership with my kids. And like, man, you're well-rounded. If you know how to protect people out on the street and protect your home and protect your kids, protect your family, and you're elevating, you know, your spouse and your marriage over your kids, but like unifying everyone together, boom, you are solid.
Especially with men, I'm not saying I can't speak to women, I'm not a woman. So you sent the Love and Respect videos. Thank you, by the way. Fantastic. I've read the book. It was years ago. I'm different now. I absorbed it differently. But then also him speaking. He's a very good speaker.
Yes.
The part 1, part 2.
Yes.
Watching that over and over. It's so good. And then I feel like God put on my heart not only to pursue my wife, but I felt like he's building my resume for a job that doesn't exist yet. And one of the very important things was, can you love while being disrespected? And it doesn't mean it's real. It doesn't mean it's intentional. It just means that some things are very disrespectful. Can you actively love while actively being disrespected? I'm like, ooh, God, can I pick another one? He's like, no. You can't, because I love you so much. If you can do that, that is a superpower amongst men.
Yes.
If you can love while being disrespected, that you're going to learn that she never meant, it wasn't even a real thing. You were perceiving it like that. And if you can figure that out, you talk about being well-rounded.
So good.
It's so good. It's
So
so
good.
good.
Yes.
So that's
Emerson
fantastic.
Eggerichs, love and respect.
He's awesome.
Yes,
He's so awesome.
because he
And you
talks
talked about, is bringing him here a thing?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that an option?
Totally. We got to get that figured
Yeah,
out.
it was fantastic. And he's the right amount of humor.
Yes.
He's funny. He's intelligent. It hits you right in the soul, but you don't feel wounded. You feel
Exactly.
challenged. And I'm like, man, I'm in. Let's
Yes.
go. So it's
So
very, very
good.
good. Are your 3 things the C's?
Yes.
Because you mentioned your 3 things. Okay.
Yes, yes. Connecting consistently, getting together on the calendar, and then having a shared common goal. So what are we going to do to win the week? That's it. And if you go to our website, familiesofcharacter.com, we have a free guide so that you can download it and start your huddle. Like, just do it on your own, right? And then we have, if you prefer to watch some podcasts or videos and download some helpful, like a little family huddle agenda or whatever, we've got that on our shop. And then the full-blown program is our Thriving Family Accelerator, where you just dive in, immerse yourself. It's like 90 minutes a week for 4 to 6 weeks with a small cohort of other couples. It's on Zoom, so it's from the comfort of your own home. So it's very, reasonable.
Oh, so it's not in person, it's on Zoom?
Yeah.
And you guys I think I knew that, because So where's the hub to go for all of this website?
Familiesofcharacter.com.
Familiesofcharacter.com. And your podcast that I was on, episode, what was it?
Yes,
what was
episode 72.
72. You got to watch episode 72.
That's right.
It
The
was
Families
so
of
much
Character
fun.
show.
We hit it off, and we've been fast friends ever since with Josh. I love your family. I love Josh. We've done things together. We're going to do much more together. Yeah. So, and your podcast, Families of Character, and familiesofcharacter.com. And you've got a new lineup. I mean, the same stuff, but you've got several that are coming in the new year.
Yes. If you just go to familiesofcharacter.com, go to our shop, you'll see all the signups for the upcoming year. And then also we do a monthly Parents Night Out date night event at a coffee shop just in Greenwood Village here locally in Denver. And that's open to like 12 couples. We're having our November one tomorrow. So it's a beautiful evening, beautiful food, flowers, the whole nine. So it's a very beautiful date night. And then there's a little workshop where you learn a little bit more about your spouse, and then you move together on, like, we're doing holiday planning, and how would you make your holiday more meaningful if you actually put some thought behind it before it just showed up,
Yes,
It's like,
what a grand idea, right? Have a plan going into it.
Yes.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for defending the family. And we talked about this a little bit. It is absolutely under attack, the family unit. Men need a lot of help, and you know that, and Josh is amazing, and we've had some side discussions and some talks about this, and you know that I'm pursuing Rachel, and we're getting through that and all that, but I'm personally interested, and I think a lot of people are going to be. So familiesofcharacter.com to get more information on how to actively do that, and there's just nothing. I tell people, you want to do something, everybody's like, yeah, get after it. We prefer the warfare that we know. Like my SEAL buddies are like, let's stack them in the street, and I'm like, brother, you don't want a war here. You know what I mean? Because your kids will see it. It's right up and close and personal. But I think there's a new form of tactics that's very apparent. I say, I want to start with this heart inside my chest and work outward, right? So working on me, but then any guy that I know, if you ask them what is your priority, they would say their wife. They would say God, and then they would say their wife, and they would say their family. And then we say words that cut to the bone, show me, right? And again, I'm talking to me.
Yeah.
So it's show me. We can talk about it, or you can do it, right? And if you're not doing it, it does harm your character. It does harm your credibility. So time to get after it.
Totally.
Thank you. Anything you want to finish with? I'm going to give you the last word, but I just want to say thank you so much. And guys, check it out. Go check out familiesofcharacter.com. Please listen, especially episode 72, but listen to Families of Character podcast. And that's anywhere they can get their podcast?
That's right.
Okay, is that audio and video or just audio?
Audio and video on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the places.
Awesome.
Check us out.
Final words,
Yeah.
anything?
I just want to say thank you to your community for welcoming Josh and I into the family, and for having wraparound services for the entire family. We are going to be sharing Able Shepherd far and wide. We already have, but we reshare it and just ask people, please consider protecting your family and getting your kids into this family emergency readiness program, and just because we know once they get into that, they're going to get into
They're
all
in.
kinds
Once
of
they're
stuff.
in, they're
Yes,
in,
but
yeah,
this
yeah.
is a loving family. We're so glad to be part of the Able Shepherd community. Thanks for doing what you're doing. Keep it up.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Yes.
All right, guys. Awesome episode. I learn a lot every time. Thank you to Jordan Langdon, her beautiful family. Love you guys. Josh, hello, my brother. And until we see you again, God bless each and every one of you. We truly love you. Take care of one another.
Amen.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. I hope it gave you some practical ideas and inspiration to strengthen your family, whether it's through teaching situational awareness, prioritizing communication, or making space for those important weekly family huddles. Listen, if you're ready to take the next step in creating a connected and thriving family, be sure to check out our Thriving Family Accelerator. And if you're in the Denver area, be sure to join us for events like Parents' Night Out. This event is designed to help couples reconnect and truly lead their family with intention. You can find all the details on our website at familiesofcharacter.com. Listen, we're looking forward to an exciting 2025 on the podcast. Starting in January, we'll be back with new guests, fresh insights, and monthly themes designed to help your family grow stronger in character and connection. See you in the new year.